So I was wary of posting a link to Tulsi Gabbard's view on Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery. Okay? And the reason why was because her views were very much opposed to probably the majority of the views of my viewers. I think that my viewership is very conservative. But what I want to point out is this shows consistency of Tulsi Gabbard being Tulsi Gabbard and Tulsi Gabbard not kowtowing to either the right or the left, because it has been supposed by radical leftist kooks that Tulsi Gabbard is somehow a right-wing grifter or a crazy right-winger or a this or a that, and she's this way and she's that way. No, Tulsi Gabbard is Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I actually disagree with her on this point, okay? But you can disagree with your president and still have a happy presidency that's effective and promotes change that will happen, that will cause a resurgence, a renaissance of Americanism in the country. Tulsi Gabbard will fix the country. I'm confident of that. If she wins, she will fix the country. She will use her offices as president to make very important changes to occur in conformity with her will and the will of the people to bring about the proper changes in this republic to save our republic. Now, with Kyle Rittenhouse, of course, Tulsi Gabbard understood things the same way I did. With Ahmaud Arbery, she did not. And the reason why, and I want to point this out, I spoke about this with like George Floyd and things like that, but then, of course, I try to be as objective as possible with this. I forget the guy's name. I don't remember. It was like Deshaun Jackson or Tupac Shakur or whatever the hell his name was. But there was one gentleman where a female cop mistook her gun for her taser and shot the guy. And I was like, no, this ain't cool. That chick needs to be taken off the police force immediately. But I also pointed out how that gentleman was not a victim of police brutality, but a victim of feminism. Because without feminism and without affirmative action, without any of this crap, that woman would never be on patrol. Never be near a gun, let alone able to discharge it into a guy that was a criminal. Mind you, he was a criminal, but just because you're a criminal doesn't give the police a right to street execute you. And I'll try and find a link to that. I forget the guy's name. Look, there's so much of this crap. I honestly can't keep up. I get some of them confused, and they all have offbeat names, so it's kind of hard to keep track. But the thing with Ahmaud Arbery, and I am familiar with that one because I was a security guard. I was a security guard for a long time with a lot of different companies, and a number of the companies I had to place people under citizen's arrest. So what I believe happened with Ahmaud Arbery was Mr. Arbery was trespassing, looking very suspicious. He was trespassing on private property, walking around, allegedly jogging in work boots with a hammer. Okay? Now, this father and son duo that, honestly, I don't think they was right 100%, because I have the same view I do with the George Zimmerman thing. I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to leave a link to George Zimmerman's True 911 call. I think what happened here is this father and son placed this gentleman under citizen's arrest, like they said. The gentleman went for the shotgun, struggled with the kid, who was not a kid, obviously, he was an adult male, and the shotgun went off, killing the gentleman. Do I think the gentleman deserved to die? No, not for what he was doing, but you don't try and take somebody's gun away from them. It's that simple. Especially if somebody's placing you under citizen's arrest. Okay? And I had a similar view with the George Floyd thing when people are like, well, why didn't you let him up? Why didn't he da-da-da-da-da? People do not understand that as an arresting person, somebody that's arresting somebody, you have a responsibility to yourself to protect yourself and a responsibility to those around you, the other officers. A lot of the George Floyd issue, I actually blame on the spectators that were taking photos and video and all that stuff. And I disagree with Tulsi Gabbard on the George Floyd thing too. So what the ultimate overlying theme of this is I want people to understand Tulsi Gabbard is not a right-wing extremist. She's not a left-wing extremist. She's not this. She's not that. She is Tulsi Gabbard. She is herself. She has her own thoughts, her own feelings, and her own ideas. Okay? It just so happens the majority of her ideas coincide with my ideas. And I think she would be a wonderful president. Okay? But no, I don't see her as a right-winger or a left-winger. I do see her as a Teddy Roosevelt-style progressive. I see her beyond the right and left wing. I really do. She is beyond right and left. She is beyond good and evil. But I see her as my future president. I hope so anyway. And I see her with the capability of fixing this country. Now, do I think you have to agree with a politician 100%? Hell no. Hell no. I unfortunately supported Donald Trump despite ardently disagreeing with him on the homosexual issue. But for example, I was talking to a homosexual gentleman earlier today. People might not know this. I live near an area that is an art colony. So there's a lot of homosexuals there, and the homosexual gentleman owns an occult store. And I was buying a pendant for somebody that I care a great deal about. And I go into the store and we start talking politics. Now this homosexual gentleman, he is a lifelong Republican like I was, okay? Which honestly, I don't see how you can be a lifelong Republican and homosexual, but that's besides the point. But the point is that he couldn't understand why I would support Tulsi Gabbard and what was wrong with Kamala, okay? There's a lot wrong with Kamala. Like, for example, she almost let a guy die on death row and refused to release evidence to exonerate the gentleman. The guy could have been killed, okay? And she refused to release it until a federal court said, no, you got to release that. You got to, this guy, you're going to kill this dude. And there's a lot of other things that Kamala Harris did that were very bad for people. Just because you're a criminal doesn't mean you don't have rights. And Kamala Harris is not, she's not very open to the fact that, criminals still have constitutional rights. And that the Constitution does provide for a proper way to basically dispense justice. Tulsi Gabbard gets that justice needs to be dispensed fairly. I also think one of Tulsi Gabbard's issues with the whole Ahmaud Arbery thing has to do with the nature of the citizen's arrest and things of that nature. And I think she does believe that these gentlemen were inherently racist. For all I know, they were inherently racist also. They may have been inherently racist, okay? They probably were based where they were. But the point is, I don't see that they broke the law. I don't see what they did that was illegal. And I don't think they should do prison time because I don't think racism is what drove them to stop this gentleman. I think his suspicious behavior is what drove them to stop him. And I do believe that he attacked the kid, tried to get his gun, and the gun went off. I believe that. Okay, that's what I believe. She believes otherwise, and she has a right to those views. And if me and Tulsi Gabbard were on a jury together, and we could be because we're both U.S. citizens, maybe we would disagree on that point. But that doesn't make her any less a great commander-in-chief, a great leader of the United States. It doesn't make her any less of a great human being. And, that's where I'm coming down with on this. I think that Tulsi Gabbard is an excellent individual. She would make an excellent president, and she has the ability to heal this country. I really do believe that. You have a lot of these bullshit artists talking like Trump and Obama and Romney and all these guys yabba. They're jibber jabbering about how they're going to fix the country, She knows how she's going to fix the country. She's been getting results since she's been in her 20s. Since she was 21, I believe, was when she was first elected to office as a Hawaiian state senator, I believe. And then she actually dropped out of the state senate of Hawaii. I said California. Whoops. I meant Hawaii. Sorry. The Fruit Loops are kind of similar in both areas. But she's not a Fruit Loop. But what I'm saying is she was elected to the state senate in Hawaii. And she actually dropped out of the Senate so she could serve in Iraq. So she could serve with her fellow soldiers. So she could serve with her fellow Americans. And so she could protect the freedoms of Americans. That's the kind of person Tulsi Gabbard is. So if there's one little tiny point, she disagrees with me on this, the little tiny points, they don't matter so much in the long run. During the last election, somebody was saying that Tulsi Gabbard was, they didn't like her views on guns. Somebody I know in my personal life. They don't like that she's anti-gun. Tulsi Gabbard is not anti-gun. She's like me. I'm not anti-gun either. I just think there are some people that we might not want having access to guns for public safety reasons and things of that nature. Okay, and I think my opinion is, though, that the Constitution, due to the very clear wording of the Second Amendment, I think there needs to be a constitutional convention, and there may need to be some alteration to the Constitution to make it possible for those laws to exist. Because I think a lot of the gun control laws, if not all of them, are illegal. Honestly, they're not respecting the spirit of the Second Amendment, and I think you need to change the Second Amendment to allow for such laws. And what's my view on gun laws? I've said this before, if somebody's too mentally deranged to work, or too mentally deranged, like have you ever received VA benefits because you're severely mentally ill? Or you get a check every month from the government because you're too severely mentally ill to work, you don't need access to a firearm. I think that would do a lot to stop a lot of problems we have. Now that's not a drop in the bucket compared to the illegal firearms that are all over the streets, which are being used by illegal criminal gangs, but I'm sure Tulsi Gabbard has a way to deal with that too. She is a law and order candidate. People don't understand that. She is a law and order candidate. If you watch her interview with Stossel, and I will put that on, Tulsi Gabbard is similar to me, a little bit more hardcore. I'm for legalizing the use of all drugs and the sale of drugs, taxing, regulating. I want them regulated for safety and taxed to help fund certain programs. And I believe the government should continue discouraging people from using drugs. But I think that really pretty much all drugs should be legalized. And they should be taxed and regulated and even maybe manufactured by the federal government to help keep them safe. But my point is the current system is not working at reducing drug use. Criminalizing drug use is not working at reducing drug use. If anything, it's creating more crime connected to drug use. Now, Tulsi Gabbard's view, what I gather from the Stossel thing, she's a little bit more hardcore than I am. She thinks you should legalize the use of drugs, but go after the people that sell them and deal them and are poisoning society. And I can't necessarily say I 100% disagree with her on that. I disagree with her on some points. I think my view is a better view, but then again, I'm not running for president. She is. That's a view I can deal with. That's a view that honestly, if I met Tulsi Gabbard, she deserves a hug. She deserves a congratulatory hug for being so pro-American. She is an extremely pro-American individual. And she wants to help for the health and welfare of the republic, the health and welfare of the republic through the health and welfare of every individual U.S. citizen in this republic. Okay? Nobody else is saying these things. Only Tulsi Gabbard. So the Ahmaud Arbery thing, big deal. Big deal. If you can't deal with that, if you disagree with her view on Ahmaud Arbery, but agree with Donald Trump letting tens of thousands of dangerous criminals out of prison and doing virtually nothing about the Black Lives Matter Antifa insurrection, then you have your own cognitive dissonance that really needs to be looked into. Anyway, there will be links in the description. I will continue to support Tulsi Gabbard. As far as I'm concerned, she's already my president. That's all for this video.